They had no idea she earned $40,000. Every month, what happened next left them speechless. Mrs. Ifeoma wasn't just living simply in Garki, she was invisible by design. While her colleagues arrived at the corporate headquarters in Central, business district in Range Rovers and Mercedes G-Wagons, she took Danfo buses. While they wore Gucci and Hermes to board meetings, she wore Ankara from Woos Market. Her office nickname was the Velvet Hammer, soft-spoken, but able to shut down a failing division with 3 sentences. CEOs in London, Johannesburg, and Dubai had her on speed dial. But in her neighborhood, the security guard thought she was a cleaner at the same company, where she sat on the executive board. After her husband died 12 years ago, she made a promise at his graveside. "I will teach our son the value of a naira before he ever sees a million." She'd watch too many privileged children turn into entitled adults. Her love language wasn't gifts, it was character building. Her phone rang and it was her son Chidi. "Mum, there's something I need to tell you." Chidi's voice was different, distant, like he was reading from a script. "I'm getting married. Her name is Elena. Her family is, well, they're very successful. Very sophisticated." Then came the words that cut deeper than any knife. "Mum, please. Just come looking normal. Maybe borrow Auntie Ngozie's good rapper? And please don't talk too much about, money matters." I told them you're retired now. This wasn't the first betrayal. 2 years ago, Chidi had forgotten to invite her to his company's gala where he received an award because he was ashamed of her old Nokia phone while his colleagues had iPhones. That night, Ifeoma sat alone in her small parlor, staring at a photo from Chidi's university. Graduation, the one Chidi paid for in full, in cash, without him ever knowing the tuition was $45,000 per year. She'd told him it was a government scholarship. She made her decision. They want to see a poor woman? I'll give them the performance of a lifetime. Dinner was scheduled. Ifeoma arrived at Cilantro Restaurant in Maitama, looking like she'd just come from the village. But here's the twist. Everything was calculated. The faded wrapper? Authentic vintage Ankara worth $500,000 from a 1970 SS collection they just didn't know. The old canvas bag? It contained documents that could buy the restaurant. The worn shoes? Handmade leather from Italy, aged deliberately. The restaurant host looked at her with visible disgust. "Madam, are you sure you're in the right place? Maybe you're looking for Mr. Biggs?" Before Ifeoma could respond, Elena rushed over, her face a mask of horrified embarrassment. "Oh, Mom, you came. Not you made it, or so glad to see you. Just you came, like an unfortunate accident. If you've watched till this point, thank you kindly like. Leave a heart and tell us where you're watching from." When they offered her $700 to disappear from her own son's life. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notify button for our new videos. Thank you so much. Richard and Catherine weren't just wealthy, they were weaponized wealthy. Catherine examining her nails. "Elena, darling, you didn't mention your mother-in-law would be joining us tonight." The pause before mother-in-law hung in the air like a bad smell. Richard, without looking up from his phone, "So, Mrs. Ifeoma, is it? What is it you do exactly?" Chidi mentioned something about administrative work. When the waiter handed Ifeoma the menu, Catherine snatched it away. "Oh, let me help you, dear. These menus can be so confusing. The prices are in dollars, you see. Why don't I just order for you? Maybe the soup? It's only 45s. Ifeoma smiled softly, playing her role perfectly. "Thank you, Ma. You are very kind. I'm not used to this kind of place." Catherine's smile was venomous with satisfaction. Richard asked, "So, Mrs. Ifeoma, where exactly do you work?" Ifeoma responded, "Oh, just one small office in the central area." Catherine asked, "And you've lived in Garki all these years?" "Never thought to." "Upgrade?" Ifeoma answered, "The rent is manageable. And $200,000 a year. Truth is, she owned the entire building, worth $180 million. Throughout the dinner, Elena said nothing. Didn't defend her future mother-in-law. Didn't stop her parents. She just sat there, occasionally glancing at Chidi with looks that said, "I told you this was a mistake." After the main course, Catherine pulled out an envelope. "Mrs. Ifeoma, Richard and I have talked, and we want to help you. We know things have been difficult. So, we're prepared to give you $700 every month. For your needs. She slid the envelope across the table like she was feeding a stray dog. But darling, we need you to understand. Chidi and Elena will be very busy building their life. International travel, society events. It would be best if you gave them space. Perhaps you could visit. Twice a year? On holidays? Richard added. Think of it as early retirement. You've done your job as a mother. Now let us take it from here. Chidi looked down at his plate. He said nothing. That silence. That was the moment Ifeoma felt her heart crack. Not at the in-laws' cruelty, but at her son's cowardice. Ifeoma set down her water glass. The sound of it hitting the table was somehow louder than all the conversation. When she looked up, her eyes had changed. The simple village woman was gone. Catherine, Richard. First names, no more sir or ma. I need to correct a few misunderstandings. Her voice was the same one she used in boardrooms when someone proposed. A budget that didn't make sense. Calm, surgical, lethal. She reached into her old canvas bag and pulled out a business card. Placed it on the table. Richard picked it up and his face went pale. Regional Director of Operations. West African Division, Chief Operating Officer for... He couldn't finish. Thank you for watching till this point. It means a lot. Kindly like, comment, subscribe, and share to someone who needs to hear this story. My salary is $40,000 per month. That's N65 million at current exchange rates. Every month? Over my 15-year career with this company. My total compensation, including bonuses and stock options, is approximately $10 million. The small office in Central Area, that's the corporate headquarters where I oversee operations in 5 countries. Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and Côte d'Ivoire. I manage a workforce of $10,000 employees and an annual operational budget of $500 million. Catherine's face had lost all color. You asked why I still live in Garki? Because I own that building, and 3 others, and a 4-bedroom penthouse in Ikoyi that I rent out for $8,000 a month. I live in Garki because it keeps me close to real people, not social climbers. I learned something very important in my career, Catherine. The richest people rarely look rich. The ones who scream about their wealth? Usually drowning in debt or insecurity. You wear your wealth like armor because you're afraid that without it, you're nothing. I wear mine like a secret because I know exactly who I am. She turned to Chidi. I paid for your entire university education. $180,000. Total, and told you it was a scholarship because I wanted you to feel the weight of gratitude, not entitlement. I drove a 2003 Honda while sending you $2,000 a month for upkeep in the UK. I did this not because I was poor, but because I wanted you to become a man who valued effort over inheritance. But tonight, you sat there and let them offer to buy your mother out of your life for $700 a month, and you said nothing. Chidi's eyes filled with tears. The waiter arrived with the check, $847. Richard reached for his wallet with the confidence of a buy, man who'd never been declined. First card, declined. Second card, platinum, declined. Third card, the one he'd been bragging about, insufficient funds. The restaurant went quiet. Other diners were watching now. Catherine hissed, Richard, what is happening? Ifeoma reached into her canvas bag. The card she pulled out was so black it seemed to absorb light. The American Express Centurion Card, invitation only, requires $250,000 minimum annual spend, $10,000 initiation fee. She placed it on the check presenter. Consider it a gift from a broke and naive mother. The waiter's eyes went wide. He'd only seen this card twice in his entire career. Ma'am, the waiter said to Ifeoma, would you like to add the service charge? Or add 25% tip and charge an extra $1,000. The extra $1,000, ma'am? For the kitchen staff. They work hard. Harder than some people at this table. She stood up, leaving them all staring. Before she left, she turned to Elena. Looked into her eyes, Elena. If you truly love my son, you're welcome in my life. But your parents? They've shown me exactly who they are. She then turned to Chidi. You have 24 hours to decide who you want to be, the man I raised or the coward I saw tonight. Catherine, Richard, enjoy your meal. My allowance should more than cover it. The following day, Chidi showed up at his mother's Garki apartment at 6 a.m. His eyes were red. "Mom, I don't know how to—" "Sit down." They sat in silence for 10 minutes. Then he broke. "I was ashamed. Not of you, of myself. I built this whole life in the UK trying to prove I was good enough. And I forgot where I came from. When they offered you money to disappear, I wanted to flip the table. But I froze. Because part of me had already made you disappear. In my head, Mom, I'm calling off the wedding." Ifeoma's hand shot up. "No, you love that girl. I saw it in your eyes, even when you were being a fool. But you need to teach her and her parents that they don't marry just you. They marry your values, your history, your mother." Elena came to visit 3 days later, alone. She didn't apologize immediately. Instead, she said, "My parents raised me to believe that success was measured in square, footage, and stock portfolios. But watching you that night, you had something they'll never have." "What's that?" "Peace. Mrs. Ifeoma, I need to tell you something about my family. My father's wealth? Most of it is leveraged. We're rich on paper but drowning in debt. The cards decline because he's maxed out. The 3 properties, 2 are being foreclosed on. We live like we're billionaires, but we're barely millionaires. And we're terrified someone will find out. You? You're the real thing." And it scared them. Ifeoma smiled. "Beta, true wealth isn't what you have. It's what you don't need to prove." 6 months later, the wedding happened. Small, intimate, in Ifeoma's church in Garki. Catherine and Richard attended, quietly, humbled. At the reception, Ifeoma gave a speech. "My husband used to say, 'The loudest man in the room is usually the weakest.' I raised my son to be strong in silence, rich in character, and wealthy in compassion. To all the parents watching, your children don't need your money. They need your values. To all the young people, never be ashamed of where you come from, and never measure your worth by someone else's bank account." As guests were leaving, a young waiter approached Ifeoma. "Ma, you don't remember me, but 5 years ago, you paid for my sister's surgery. And 800,000. You told the hospital to keep it anonymous."
"How did you—"
"The accountant was my uncle. He told me years later, 'Because of you, my sister is alive. She just graduated as a doctor.'" Chidi overheard. He looked at his mother with new eyes. She'd been giving away fortunes, while living in a modest flat in Garki. Real power doesn't announce itself. Real wealth doesn't need an audience. And real love never comes with conditions. Thank you for watching Tales by Nini A. Kindly subscribe and share your thoughts.